3:30. Sorry, 3:30. I think we should start now, okay? So good afternoon, everyone. So I will be lecturing the research method, SRM5013. So there'll be three instructors for this subject. So I will start first, and then after that, I'll pass to Dr. Magis, where she will teach you on the quantitative method and the mixed method, and then finally, Sally will lecture on the qualitative method. So there'll be three assessment, as usual, three assessment. All right. Again, please take note on the timeline. In fact, actually, I have uploaded the assessment 1 and 2 in the e-learn just now, so you can actually download, have a look. Assessment 3, I will release it to you after the Hari Raya week. Okay. So you can go to the e-learn and download assessment 1 and assessment 2. Okay. In fact, you want to start straight away also is okay, but just take note on the timeline. Okay. Okay, there are more students joining. Okay, good. So again, the online student, is my voice clear? Is it okay? Online student, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. So just to recap, I have uploaded the assessment 1 and assessment 2. You can download and look at it. I will release the assessment 3 after the Hari Raya. Okay. So we can start now. The lecture. Stop sharing this. Now. So you can actually download the lecture notes in e-learn. So I suppose everyone can access to e-learn, right? So you can log into the e-learn and download the lecture notes. Okay. So I will start off with module 1, topic 1, introduction to research. So before I start, I just want to ask you all, do you have any idea why you want to do research? Idea? Why people want to do research? Because one of the reason, yeah, graduation, right? Other than that, what is the main motivation people are doing research around the world? Add more white hair, better knowledge, right? You want to basically want to expand the knowledge, or you want to create knowledge. Okay, so it doesn't need to be a breakthrough knowledge. So as long as there's some incremental knowledge, right? So that's why people doing research, basically to expand the knowledge or to generate new idea, concept, okay, or even a prototype. Okay, that's why people do research. So for the MSCM, why we have the research methods? Because as you know, later you're going to enroll in the RP1 and RP2. There'll be a short project, right? So these research methods hopefully can give you some guidance how you're going to start your RP. Okay. If you have taken some other courses, probably you'll be given some assignment, right? To write some essay. then you do some literature review. Am I right? So then you read some papers, you read some, find some info with the website, right? Have you ever wondered how good, how reliable are those articles published in a certain journal? Have you ever asked this question? Because there are a lot of journal, right? You download, then you read. Have you ever think, are those information in the journal, are they reliable? So these are some of the questions that we're going to answer in this course, and also how to find information. To find information, right? So let's say you are given an essay question, a certain topic, then you want to look for information. How are you going to do it? Are you 100% rely on Google, or you use some database? Okay, so we also will cover in this course. Another thing is, again, when you read a lot of information, whether in the website or journal paper, how are you going to keep track? Maybe if you read 3 papers, then you'll be easy, right? Remember easily. What if you have read, let's say, 50 or maybe 20 papers, article? How are you going to keep track? Okay, this also we're going to discuss course, right? And then we will also discuss on how to prepare a research proposal. Why we need a research proposal? Basically, when we do the research, we need to, the way when we do research, of course, we need to report to someone, some institution, or some funding agency, right? That either approval, money, funding. Therefore, you need to prepare some form of proposal. For example, the MSDM, you need to write a proposal to your supervisor so that you know what are you doing and he agree with you. You have a sort of a guideline how to start off. Also, sometimes people write proposal. Very often, people write proposal to some funding agency, whether it is a private funding agency or some government funding agency to get funding. You also need to draft a proposal, search proposal. Or you work in a company, right? You want to develop a product. And also you need to inform your superior. Not sure whether a proposal needed, but in a way, you also need to tell him or her what you want to do, right? So this also is a form of a proposal. So how are we going to craft a proposal? That also we were going to discuss cost, right? And then we also discuss what are the research methods. Is it quantitative? Quantitative means based on number, statistic, right? Or is it a qualitative interview? Or a mixture of both? Which one is suitable? Okay, so we also will cover in the research method. Okay, which one is the suitable? Okay. Of course, in this module 1, topic 1, right, we're going to look at some of the fundamental concept research. You will notice that you go through the lecture notes, you will notice that this topic, especially topic 1, will be quite philosophy, but you don't worry. It's actually not too difficult, okay, to understand. Okay, so let's start. Okay, what is research? Gathering of data, information. Basically, you want to once the knowledge. You want to find out something new. It doesn't need to be a breakthrough. Okay? It doesn't need to be a breakthrough. Okay. For example, you want to do a market survey on a certain topic, right? You know something new, right? Or if you're doing a hard science, probably you're going to do a research on some come up a prototype, develop or do a research on a battery so that the battery have a very high capacity, right? That is also research. So regardless of what type of research, we need to gather the data, right? Information. Okay. Why? So that we will not repeat what other people have done, so that your work will not be redundant. Thanks, right? That's why you need to gather data information to read first. So you have an idea what is going on. Because at the end of the day, right? Let's say you spend maybe 6 months doing the research, then you found out that other people have done similar. But don't worry, for the MSDM research project 1, 2, we are not so emphasized on this kind of knowledge. But in the real world, do a serious research. We don't want to repeat what other people have done, because that wastes time, right? Because the knowledge already there. So that's why we need to gather data information. Okay, and also by gathering data information, we know what is happening, right? We know what is happening, so that we can come up a topic, right? So without understanding a topic, let's say I ask you propose a research topic, certain area, you are blank, right? You can't do it. So therefore, you need to read, gather data, information, okay, and facts. Okay, it's very important. That is a part of the review, part of the process. Okay. Of course, you are in the MSDM, so we are talking about sustainability. So what is sustainable research? Investigating the impact of development towards environmental, social, economic, and cultural conservation. So in short, research that have to do with sustainability can be very wide. Mix can be energy, etc. Okay. So how many division in research? Basic research is meant to expand the boundary of the knowledge itself. Okay. You can also do applied research to answer a question in the real world and to solve problems. So applied research more on the application. Okay. Whereas basic research try to expand the boundary of the knowledge, whether it's a theoretical, experimental, okay. So what we call the basic research and the applied research. So research, of course, the first thing you think of it, academic research, right? Research, probably academic, got to be tied to the lab or some field, but that's not the case. It can be also consultancy project. So we're going to take a look each of it and what are the differences. So academic research that you do when you are a postgraduate, enroll in a master by research or your MSDM project or PhD, or you work research institute. Okay. So focus primarily on making new discovery for the purpose of creating knowledge, right? And it is more theoretically focused, and it is carried out in a very, I would say, a very systematical way. Okay. As I follow a formal and systematic procedure from beginning to the end. So for this research method course, we are actually more geared towards academic research, right? That's why you look at the lecture notes, there will be how to craft a research proposal, how to make a statement on the research objective, how you're going to write the hypothesis, etc. Okay, so it is more formal, follow a systematic procedure. So academic research. So of course, consultancy project is more involved in the industry, right? For example, let's say you work in a car or factory, you want to develop a right? That can be also involve a lot of research, right? All the consultancy project. So it is more to finding solution and issue that emerge from business requirements. Okay, so it's a consultancy. So what are the methods to do the research? So basically there are three methods. So we also going to cover these three methods. Okay, under module 3. So it can be quantitative. Quantitative is very easy. It means it use number. For example, statistic. Right? You run a survey. You collect the response. Then after that, you analyze statistical data. Quantitative. Okay. Basically, you examine the relationship among variables using instrument and analyze using statistical procedure. So that's why module 3, I believe, you're going to learn some basic statistics because later you're going to have a SPSS workshop, right? Of course, you have a SPSS workshop. So those you can actually use those fundamental statistics that you learn in this. Okay. Then qualitative. Qualitative means non-numerical. Okay, non-numerical. For example, interview. Interview people will give you some response, then you analyze it. Okay, so it's more subjective. So to make it simple, always remember qualitative use words, quantitative use number. So of course, in the MSCM also, if you notice, we also have the N Vivo workshop, right? So N Vivo workshop is actually more on the qualitative, whereas the SPSS is to teach you how to use the statistical software. Okay, workshop. Then you combine both. We call it a mixed method. Okay. So the next few slides will be a little bit philosophical. Okay. So research paradigm support by three pillars. One is the ontology, one is the epistemology, then another one is the methodology. So what does it mean? So ontology always will ask a question, what is the reality? Epistemology, how do you know something? Methodology, how? What are the methods you're going to use to find out? So we're going to, next few slides, look at it one by one, okay? So remember, research paradigm, three pillars: ontology, epistemology, and methodology. Okay? So for example, let's say you conduct a research of performance or new material, remove chemical impurity, right? So therefore, you know that there'll be only one reality, right? Whether the result will show that the new product either work better or it doesn't. That is the ontology. There's only one reality. For example, let's say you want to, develop a LED that is efficiency 99.9%. Right? There's only one reality, right? Whether you hit the 99.9, you don't hit the 99.9. Right? Only one reality. That is what we call the ontology. Okay, if you look back at the previous slide. Previous slide. Ontology, what is the reality? Okay. Now, there are some cases, all right, they are more subjective. There are more than one reality. Okay. One example is this. All right, if you want to look at the effects of parental literacy rate on the literacy or academic success of their children, probably you will not get a definite result. Probably going to depends on the geographical location, it depends on the institution, depends on the area, depends on the population. There are many factors. There are more than one reality. So we can see the difference, right? The ontology is different. So this is what we call the ontology. Is there one reality? They are multiple reality. So of course, usually for the social sciences research, there are more than one reality, very subjective. Talking about scientific research, most of the time there'll be only one reality, whether it works or not, whether you achieve the efficiency or not, right? Whether you can give the result you want or not, okay? That is one reality, okay? What I'm trying to tell you, okay? Is there a single reality or multiple reality or no reality at all? Okay? So of course, usually, I think most of the time, scientific research, we only one reality. You think about it, right? It's correct, right? You want to develop a drug or some disease, whether it work or not, right? Cannot be subjective, right? For a chemist, you want to make some material to achieve a certain performance. There's only one reality, work or not. Whereas if you are an anthropologist, probably there'll be a no clear answer. It'll be very subjective, depending on a lot of factors. Okay, so this what is epistemology? How we can know reality? Okay, for example, someone say, I know that the earth is round. So what are the epistemological questions? That would be, how you know the earth is round? How are you going to know the earth is round? Okay, is it true, just simply believe, or based on some evidence, right? So basically, epistemology is how we can know the reality. Okay, so you can only answer this epistemology after have your answer on the ontology. That makes sense, right? You already know your research. For example, you put it in a practical way, you already know your research topic. Then roughly you already know your what is the ontology. After you know your ontology, then you should able to answer question related to the epistemology. Okay, how we can know reality. Okay, that is actually linked back to the ontology. Now, after that, after we know how we know the reality, next question is, how are we going to find out? Right? Come back to this question. I know that the earth is round. Why? Maybe um, just a simply belief, or my best friend told me. Of course, the next thing is, what are the methods you're going to use to find out the earth is round? That will be methodology. So what's the difference? Epistemology and methodology. Epistemology is more on a philosophical question. Am I right? Yeah, more philosophical question. Methodology is more on method that you use. What type of method? Is it through survey? Is it through some experimental method? Some interview question? Methodology, the method you use to carry out your research. Okay, for example, medical research, create a research plan, do some clinical trial, right? During which blood tests that measure a specific protein are conducted, and this result are then analyzed. The focus on we are focused on differences with groups. Okay, so the methodology here probably is your clinical trial. What are the steps that you need to do? Okay, On the other hand, you're talking about more on the social sciences, tend to be a little bit different. You're talking about observation, conducting interview, then you maybe use some software and vivo to analyze. So this is methodology. So research paradigm, to summarize, there are three: ontology, epistemology, methodology. Ontology is what is a reality. Is there only one reality or multiple reality? So after we know the ontology, then comes the epistemology. Okay, how we know the knowledge exists. And finally, methodology, that what are the methods we use to find out. Okay, so these three will give us the three pillars of the research time. Okay, and then there are another three thing term. One is a positivist, constructivist, and pragmatic. Okay, so how does these three relate to the ontology, epistemology, and methodology? Okay, so we're going to find out. Okay, shortly. So positivists believe in a single reality, measured and understood. Right, single reality I have explained to you just now. All right. So what are the methods? Quantitative techniques, way, questionnaire, and experiment. Now, I just want to emphasize whatever tabulated here is just a guideline, general guideline. Okay, it's just a general guideline for you, right? Constructivist, right, is more on the qualitative research conducted in social science. They are more than a single reality. That makes sense, right? More subjective. More subjective. Usually be interview observation, be a qualitative approach. Okay. Pragmatic. Okay. Reality is constantly changing and being interpreted. So usually people use the mixed method. Okay. So this is how we relate. Probably we're a little bit confused. There are so many philosophical questions. First, we talk about ontology, then we talk about epistemology, then methodology. These three will form the pillar of the research paradigm. Then three new terms come out: pragmatism, and constructivist, right? So how does this link to each other? Are they interrelated? So this table here, actually I have tabulated how these so-called search paradigm and the philosophical question, right, related to each other. Okay. So again, if you are positivism, right, your ontology will be a single reality. Okay. Epistemology, reality can be measured. Okay, and usually will be used expanded research, survey research. On the other hand, if you are constructivist, more on the social sciences research, there'll be no single reality or truth. Okay, then it depends on how you interpret the result. Let's say go and conduct interview with different group of people. At the end of the day, it's very subjective, right? It depends on how we interpret the result. Okay, so there'll be more than one reality. So usually the data are collected through observation interview, and then we make the conclusion. Of course, pragmatism, reality is continually changing. This is ontology. Epistemology, how can we know the reality? Okay, the best method is one that solves problem. Pragmatic. Okay, usually the method will be mixed method. Okay, so this is how it relate to each other. Okay. Now come to the golden question. So when you do your search, um, do we actually need to really look into this very detailed? Now, from my experience, unless you're doing a research on a research method, very a topic on a very philosophical. Other than that, most of the time, you won't even see this. So this is just an introduction to you. Unless you are interested in doing something on research method, some research that is very philosophy. Then research design and method. So again, when you do the research, you use some planning to have some strategy. How are you going to carry out this research? Don't waste a lot of time. To me, right, even to do a research, what we want is we want to complete the project time. Does that make sense? Sense, right? If not, you're going to spend a lot of time. That if your method is wrong, I wouldn't say wrong. It's not the appropriate method. There's no right or wrong method, whether it's appropriate or not. If you don't use a appropriate method, probably you're going to get the result. Probably going to take a very long time. Do a lot of try and error. You get the method right, then you can complete the project in a. That makes sense, right? All research project should have a timeline. Whether it is academic, MSDM, you need to complete it within the RP2. You do a PhD, you complete it within maybe 3 to 5 years. You work in a company, obviously they have a timeline for you to do that. Okay, so you can. That's why I always emphasize use the right method, then you can get what you want faster. You use a not a suitable method, then take up a lot of your time. So which method? That one you need to. It depends on your project, and you need to talk to your supervisor. Okay? So criteria for selecting a research approach. So what factor influence your choice of one approach over another when designing a research proposal? What type of method you should use? So this is sort of a guideline, because I say if you use a method that is not so appropriate, you're going to lose a lot of time. So the next question is, what method should we use? Okay. Obviously, it depends on how you design research. Whether you want to do a survey, you want to do a calculation, you want to do a lab work, etc. What is your research problem? What type of problem you want to tackle? Right, this is quite easy to understand. This is actually very important. Personal experiences of the researchers. Very important. Although it sounds very simple. If you want to complete the project fast within a given timeline, I mean, always good that you select a topic that you have some experience in it. Makes sense, right? But a lot of people neglect this. So when you select a topic from your RP, right, preferably advise you to do something that you're familiar with. If you're familiar, then you need to start from scratch. and a lot of time is needed. Okay? Personal experiences of the researchers. For example, you can do something related to your work. That will be the fastest, right? Because you have been working on it for many years. Okay? Audiences for whom the research report will be written. You think carefully, right? After you have completed research, you need the right report. Thanks. Although again, it sound very simple. Of course, for the academic, you need to write it in the form of a thesis or dissertation, right? Maybe some of you say, oh, what about I work in a company? Also need to write report to report back to your top management. What have we done? Right? So it's very important. Report that will be written.